tomorrow night from 6 to 8, and please, all of you will join us at the opening and tell your friends. Lesley Dill is a New York-based artist who's been making work that straddles sculpture, photography, printmaking, and performance, among many other things, for the last 30 years. Informed by a broad range of spiritual traditions, her work explores the intersections of language, the body, and transformational experience. Dill has a very extensive exhibition history, both national and international, and which includes regular solo exhibitions at George Adams Gallery in New York, which represents her. In addition to numerous exhibitions, as I said, she is also engaged in performances and public projects that are a significant part of her practice, and I think she'll talk about tonight. She's received important grant funding from NIFA, the NEA, the Rockefeller Foundation, among others, and her works are in the collection of the Albright Knox, MoMA, the Whitney, and the Metropolitan. And we're very fortunate to have her here both for the exhibition and for the lecture tonight, and please join me in welcoming Lesley.
Thank you. It is really delightful to be here. I'm actually a kind of fake New Yorker because even though I've lived there for 30 years, I actually grew up in rural Maine. So my father taught at Freeport High School. So we're going to start with, I'm going to show you a 10-minute selection of the opera that I conceived and directed and put on in 2008. The opera is based on the poems of Emily Dickinson, and I co-composed it and directed it and everything, and had a great team of people to work with. So we're going to start off with that, and after that, I'm going to head right into my slide talk. Meg. We have worked this all out. The lights. And I don't need a light. Great. That's good. Okay. Perfect. We are animals of language. All the words that were and all the words that will be lie sleeping inside our body. Your thoughts don't come... Wait, I can't read that from here. What's it say? Your thoughts don't have words every day. They come a single time, like signal, esoteric sips. I want to take this little opportunity to say that all my photographs are real life. There's no photoshopping at all. So you can imagine what Jen, you will see yet what Jen has had to go through. And I first started using words in my work in the form of dresses and clothing. Actually, I'm kind of a shy person. And I thought it would be so nice if in my closet I would have an outfit that would speak for me instead of me having to speak. So I started out my artwork by making suits and dresses of armor, thinking that these sculptures, like language, selectively conceal and reveal. However, you can't read her like this. You can only read her when she's open. Oh, or off, maybe. Oh dear. Okay. I think I leaned on this or something. There we go. Okay. Again, Dickinson, I heard as if I had no ear until a vital word came all the way from life to me, and then I knew I heard. And this is a kind of big girl protective dress. And then, do you know that photograph of that Diane Arbus took of the little boy with the toy hand grenade in the park? You familiar with that? Well, I feel very protective of that boy, so I thought I would make him a suit of armor. So this was a suit of armor for him. And then I thought I would make a really simple dress of armor that would just sort of be in lieu of the skin. And this is a paper dress that's stained with tea, and it's embroidered with horsehair. And again, Dickinson, a word made flesh is seldom and tremblingly partook. And I thought, well, all these girls, she needs a boyfriend. So I made her a boyfriend. And I remembered Marvin, who I'd gone out with in school, and he weighed 250 pounds and was a really big guy. Not only that, but he was one of those guys that has hair from his neck, down his back, out his ankles. And I was young, and I was just enthralled by this. And I had thought of gender differences being mainly in the pubic area, and then to find that that here was Marvin in his splendor. So I have, since then, I've done a dedicated research on full body pattern of men. And I've come to think very affectionately of men. I think of them like snowflakes now because no two are alike. Okay, I got that out right. All right. But we could still do the group reading of poems back to me if I lose my place. So if you were to cut us open inside us, I think that what would fall out would not just be our intestines and pancreas and liver, but what would fall out would be words, hundreds and thousands of words. We have words layered and packed inside our bodies for a lifetime. The words that actually meet air during our life are few compared to the ones that we hold inside our body. A secret told ceases to be a secret. Again, Dickinson, there's a pair of copper lips and a pair of copper teeth. And I think that I like to release words from the tidy, sequential, geometric presentation of the printed page. And that is because I feel that words are not cold, impenetrable pieces of text, but actually words are intimate, warm things. And just even speaking to you right this minute to speak to you. Okay, I have my thoughts lined up to say to you like a row of 737s, but to even have one take off, I have to take that one breath, take that one thought, bring it up past my lungs, my throat, my teeth, my tongue, my lips, out into the air, onto your skin and into your ears. So therefore, actually, the most intimate place of my body is actually going from me and into you. And you know that this is actually true in life in general when you're speaking to each other, because if your phone rings and you pick it up and the person on the other end is someone who you know really well, or you love them a lot or you hate them a lot, but someone who you know really well, all they have to do is say, hi. And you know in that one envelope of syllabic air who it is. Every cell in your body wakes up and goes, oh, hi. So this is a close-up of a piece that I made when I was living in New Delhi, India, with my husband for 2 years. And having grown up in Maine, I'd always thought of white as a cold color because we would get snow like now, and it would last until the end of March. But living through 2 summers of the New Delhi heat, which was like 120 degrees, white became a hot color. All around me was the Hindi that I didn't understand, was the heat shimmering in waves, and all day was a wide high noon and filled with these indecipherable sounds. I knew a little French, a little Spanish, a little Latin, but I had never heard Hindi before. And I did learn some, but after a bit, when I stopped requiring that I make sense of the language, with its surface sense removed, I started to hear the language as if it was just a kind of melodic unintelligibility. So when I was in my studio in New Delhi, I tried to recreate that. And I used the poem by Dickinson, "Dare you see a soul at the white heat, then look within the door." I felt my life with both my hands to see if it was there. The other thing in India was that my Indian women friends would henna designs on our hands and feet for special occasions like weddings or special parties. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. When I got back to New York after the 2 years and I'd had my hands and feet stained many, many times, I thought, what an interesting metaphor this is for the idea that perhaps the words, like this maybe represents a kind of internal tattoo, as if the words that we hold inside our bodies are staining through continually from the inside of our bodies to the outside. So this is a print. The other was a photo, Aaron. The print. I'm afraid to own a body, I'm afraid to own a soul. And here again is the same language. I'm afraid to own a body, I'm afraid to own a soul. And this is Anita. In India, I also learned about prayer flags, which I had never known about. So I did a body of work based on the idea. And I have to say that at first I thought, forgive me, it was a little embarrassing, but at first I thought that it was a little naive. The idea that the wind could carry printed words and that the intent of those printed words would be wafted to all corners of the country. So I thought about it for a while, and then I realized that our cell phones and our iPads, and we have invisible lines of language like cutting through all of you right now. You don't just have my voice in you now. You have got like shards and threads of language from all your cell phones that are probably dying to reach you right now. So we used 30,000. I had a young woman who was working with me, so she told me that we used 30,000 tea bags in staining these photo silk screens. And one day when I was walking in Nepal, I came upon this temple. And I'm showing it to you because I had never seen a temple. I'd seen at that point a lot of temples in India and Nepal, and I had never seen one with this particular ribbon of plated metal over the doorway. So I asked the attendant, so what does this mean, this over the doorway? And he said, oh, madam, this is the tongue of God. You stand underneath it, and you say your prayers and your wishes, and your thoughts go right up the ribbon to God, to the ear of God, and the sky will hear your voice. And I thought, what a wonderful thing, this ribbon of God. And I realized much years later, that in my work, I seem to always have a ribbon or a thread or something that brings the viewer from the outside of the piece of the artwork into the inside of the piece. The other thing in India, this is embroidered with horsehair, and it's a rilka. If you are the dreamer, I am what you're dreaming. In India, of course, 2 years you have to get your hair cut. So I know at this point you must be thinking, what does this image have to do with getting your hair cut? Okay, all right, so here we go. So you go and you get a haircut, and what's really great is you also get a coconut oil head massage. So you lie down on a table, but it's not this little gentle Swedish massage. It's this whack job, like whack, slap, whack, whack, whack. Once you get used to it, you look forward to it. But things I'm thinking I won't say. And then the first time this happened to me, I was lying down, and she said, okay, madam, please close your eyelids. And I closed my eyelids. And with the tips of her fingers, she put the tips of her 2 forefingers on top of my eyelids where my pupils were. And she started to gently, with the most exquisite touch, to massage my eyeballs. Yes, you can do this at home. And I felt it as if all these images were just so, I had so many, and don't you? I mean, how many movies and TV shows have we seen? Like so many things inside there. And they were all, they felt all released. So anyway, I actually haven't had one for a long time. Okay, maybe after the talk. Okay. A desire for secret rhythms, actually, Kafka. I think of myself as a fingertip artist. I have some friends like Alison Sarr, who's a chainsaw artist, and those kinds of artists use their entire bodies, and we were talking about glass blowing, Charlie and I, the other day, and you have to really use your entire body to do certain kinds of sculpture. But I'm a fingertip artist. I love the touch of horsehair and the touch of thread and, of course, the touch of wire. Yes. And actually, I think that societally, we are tactily deprived because so many people work all day long behind a computer or in front of a computer, however you want to look at that. Then we look at our cell phones all the time. And then to unwind, we go home often and we watch TV. And then for a special treat on the weekends, often we'll go to a movie. So all these stories of human events are things that happen behind a screen, behind an interface, often of plastic. So I feel that we are craving touch. And as human beings, we have multiple sense organs and many different ways to take in the world. So I like to give you things that are hard, that are soft, that are itchy, all different things in my work that you can, actually, I have to say this in a museum, you can imagine yourself touching. So we are not fish. We are not fish outside of the fish bowl looking at the fish swimming in this world. We are actually in the fish bowl with them. We're not outside of it. We are like glasses of water in the ocean. Okay. All right. Now, I am using this image as an introduction to something serious, but I couldn't resist. So I know it looks like a Match.com date that is so not going to work, but I want to tell you and to the students I spoke to today, I am so interested in doors of irrationality, of doors, of things that don't make sense. So I use this photo as an introduction to this. So, as happens when you get things that come your way, the phone rings and you answer it. And David Brown from the Southeastern Center for Contemporary Arts in North Carolina called and asked if I wanted to be one of their visiting artists and do one of their year and a half long artist in the community projects where you go back and forth for a year and a half. You develop a project with the community. And I said, sure. Actually, I always say yes. I shouldn't, but I always say yes. And then I hung up the phone and I thought, oh, what? What? What am I going to do? And, okay, all right, this is also serious, and I'm introducing it with this ridiculous slide. Okay, so I had a secret, and I thought, okay, I'm in New York. I bet I can talk about this secret down south, which is terribly prejudicial of me, but I just thought it's the land of Flannery O'Connor and William Faulkner. They know, they talk about things down there. So I asked my mother recently, she lives in California, to send me in Brooklyn a photo of myself when I was 14. Okay, you just have to bear with it, and later we can vote if I should take it out of the slide talk. Okay, are you ready? It's going to be really quick. It's me when I'm 14. Okay, there I am at 14 as a Girl Scout. All right, so this is my secret. So my secret was this. I was given to have a vision when I was 14 years old. I got up early to go to school one day, and I looked out the window at the blue-white early morning sky and the black oak leaves against the sky, and all of a sudden, I became all I. All EYE. There was no body, no feet, no mouth, no Lesley, no nothing. There was just this thing I was experiencing. And what I experienced was I was given to see the horrors of war and cruelty and evil. And I heard the words ravaging and pestilence. These were things way beyond my 14-year-old mind in Maine. And at the same time as I was viewing what I could see were horrors, I felt completely immersed in bliss and rapture. None of these things I had ever experienced. So I got up, went downstairs, had my Cheerios, and I never remembered it ever until I was in college. And there was a class offered called Ecstasy, and so in the 70s, how could you not take a class? Ecstasy. So I took this class, it was a religious class, and the teacher handed out a questionnaire that said, have you ever had a vision? Have you ever had an experience you can't explain? Have you ever had a dream that comes back to you? And whoa. There it was, the memory. I think it's so weird that I had this recovered experience of a visionary nature. But nevertheless, I did. And I was practically knocked off my seat. And I was scared to tell anyone, so I didn't tell anyone. I mean, in fact, I hadn't told anyone about this experience until I did this project, Tongues on Fire, in 2001. Because it was indeed a secret. I thought, am I crazy? Do I need to go on drugs? Pharmaceutical drugs. Or what? And so I didn't know what to make of it. So being a good New Englander, I said nothing. So I went down to Winston-Salem with this questionnaire, and I went everywhere. And I also went with the wonderful Director of Education, Terry Dowell-Dennis, who we were buddies throughout this entire project. So I went to in fact, there she is sitting next to me. Went to bookstores, went to high school classes, went to churches, and I ended up finding a spiritual home here with the elders of the Emmanuel Baptist Church. They were the only members of the church that still sing in Gullah long-form traditional singing. And it's their job to light the fires in the church. So I ended up working very closely with them and hearing about their visions and their experiences. And we also did billboards up and down Route 55, which was a road that had traditionally divided the black from the white section of town. So, and on the billboards, we put some of the visions that we had collected. So here's one: small visions change me, change who I am, change who I want to be. Yes. And there's Belinda and Angie doing the photo shoot. We did it down there, not in New York. I've left my body twice. I began to spin head over heels slowly. There was actually a curator at the museum. I would come back to New York, and I would say I was doing this project, and people would go, hey, oops, oh dear. They would go, hey, can I talk to you for a minute in the bathroom? So, okay. My name was called In Darkness I See. That's Reverend Mendez speaking into the city of Winston-Salem. Experience left me, and I felt weightless. And here's the spiritual choir at the night of the exhibition. They'd never, ever sung outside of the church before, but they came to the museum, and while the whole year and a half I was there, they had been putting the collected language of the community to their traditional songs. So they were singing, like, say, what you might have written back at you. So it was a really charged, wonderful kind of experience. And then here we are back in Brooklyn, where I live, and I'm going to show you a series of costume performance pieces. And because actually the Tongues on Fire project really started me off really with music, because of the way their singing affected my body, the way my body opened up, the pores in my body. And a scientist friend of mine said, it's so impacting to be there in church when they're singing. And he said, he's a scientist. He said, if I take a heart muscle from one animal and I put it in a petri dish and it's still beating, and I take a heart muscle from another little animal and I put it in the same petri dish, he said, pretty soon they start beating the same rhythm. And that's what they told me is the reason they sing like that in North Carolina. So here we are doing a performance piece in Brooklyn Heights overlooking Manhattan called I Dismantle. And I'm just going to... And here's another piece I did with Goldhuber and Latsky, two fabulous dancers. And I thought, wow, men don't really get to wear trains very often. So for Larry, I made a really long pair of train pants that he could wear, and that's Heidi and me curled up on the back, and he dragged us across the stage. One of my better performance moments. And there's Heidi dancing in front of a projection with poem gloves. And there's Larry in a suit that says Much Madness. He was a part of Bill T. Jones's group, and he danced in Still Here and in Uncle Tom's Cabin. I don't know, it's on PBS every once in a while. And so here are the costumes from the opera. So here's Jorge, who everybody loved. When we were doing the rehearsals, Jorge would walk by the stands of singers, and they would just go like that. And I would say, we are filming tomorrow night. You have to get your fill tonight. But he was such a nice guy, very jolly. So this is a thrill skirt and a projection behind. Here is Andrew, the baritone, singing, and every day he would come up to me. He used to sing at the Metropolitan Opera, and he said, oh my God, Lesley, I've never sung the word sperm before. So it's all right, Andrew. It's poetry. I think it's a whale. So just go with the flow. And so here's the other costume. And here's the ecstasy dress, the finale dress. And here are the Del Sol string quartet, which you may have heard because they're San Francisco-based. Incredible string quartet. It's Kathleen, the mezzo. And here all of us are at the bows. So this project took 3 years, and I have to say it was very tiring. I didn't know much about opera. I had never directed. There were a lot of firsts. And, some things one learns the easy way and sometimes the hard way. So I was really tired. And so you think, okay, so what does an artist do when they're really tired? Okay, 1, here are the dogs. Okay, that's Claudia, who's all in white, and that's Aki, her best friend, who's black and white. Okay, so remember that, okay? Because what we did is we made costumes. So, see, now there's Claudia, right? All white, and Aki, black and white. See? There is Claudia, and there's Aki looking at Claudia dressed as Aki. Okay? Okay. And there she is. Just a real sweetheart. Now, I have to say, Aki was dressed as Claudia, but she somehow didn't look as happy as Claudia. She looks sort of more like wounded soldier or something. So, anyway, it got me through. So, and then the next project was also a totally terrific project. I was invited to work with the Draken Foundation, which is a really terrific, incredible kite foundation. And there's Scott Skinner of the Draken Foundation, they sponsored a group of us from Hand Paper Magazine and me, the artist, and Gail Deary, who is the head of the printmaking shop at the Maryland Institute. So they sponsored this whole thing so that we could make a 14-foot kite. And of course, it was the first divide light. And sometimes it's different to show things in a different place in the gallery. Ready? There's divide light. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, those are my parents. Wait. Okay. So that was a really, really wonderful project, I have to say. Again, collaboration. Hooray for printmaking. All right, so this is a picture of my parents when I was at the whatever age I was at when this was taken. And even though my mother has too much sun on her eyes, I really like to publicly thank her, because she was my speech and drama teacher in high school, and I want to thank her for teaching me what I may or may not have learned about public speaking. She insists that I memorize and don't read, which is, as you can see, has its lapses. And also she taught me about theater, which I didn't know that I would put to such use as I did. And my father taught me a different relationship to language. My father was paranoid schizophrenic, and he had a bunch of words and objects that had, like a word, instead of it just having one meaning, it would have 5 meanings, and 4 of the meanings would be his secret coded meaning. So, for example, the word go, we might wake up in the morning and he would be gone for like a week and come back. He taught at Freeport High School, and they all loved him there. And the other thing that was affecting to him was the color red. So I grew up never wearing red, never using red in anything. And then I was freed in India. So in India, red is the color of joy. It's the color of getting married. It's the color of beauty and blood and joy. So I was revivified to this color by my trip to India, by living in India. And I did this piece called Rise, and it has, again, the language from Winston-Salem on the banners that rise up. And there, there. Okay. And then there's this little guy made out of foil, and he's sitting on one end of the wall, and out his back are coming hundreds of figures from all different parts of the global visual tradition. All right. What did I do? Yeah, I think this dropped off. Okay. I'll just speak really loudly, but can you hook me up? There's that. I have 2 mics on, so it's confusing to my chest. Okay, oh, there we are. Yes. Okay, I won't move around too much. I just have such enormous breasts that I have to stay in one place. Okay. So there he is in his little chair, and then coming out his back are all these figures, hundreds of figures, all cut out of foil and backed with organza, taking up the 65 feet. So, Charlie, this is a piece that I said you would probably be glad that you didn't have to install. On the other hand, and then here you have this piece, which I show to show people the kind of foil that the other piece was made out of, and the close-up. And then this is the piece that Charlie and Team Josh all got to install in light. This is called Shimmer. We used 2,540,000 feet of wire. I didn't have anyone counting, but I had the receipts from my wire supplier. And so he would joyfully tell me, "You're up to 1,000,000.8. And okay, so they're all different kinds of wire, galvanized, a little teeny sterling, iron, orange, copper. And growing up in Maine near a body of water, I wanted to make something that was as silvery and steely and luminous as the ocean was that I had grown up near my whole life. So I thought that this would be like a kind of electrical waterfall, a kind of living, organic Rapunzel hair of electricity. And the language is, you may laugh, from Salvador Espriu, you may laugh, but I feel within me suddenly strange voices of God and handles. And then that's where I forget. Because the next word is dogs, and now all I can think of is the dogs. But you'll see, because it's here in your very own museum. So I expect that you're all going to memorize it and be calling me all the time. So there we are. And so here's a closer view. Yeah, see. God and handles dogs' thirst, a message of slow memories that disappear across a fragile bridge. Okay, there it is. Okay, now I'm going to show you, we're almost done, but I'm going to show you a medley of bronze figures just to show that I can do art that's, finite. I'm trying not to move. Okay, Rapture's germination, cast bronze with a bird on their head. Word through, painted aluminum with ribbons. Bronze, air has no residence, life size on the wall. What is inwardness? Outdoor white sculpture. This is just because I've talked so much. I'm just going to show you. And In Me the Flame, bronze. And Wonderstruck. I will say for just a minute that I did this piece because I was on a Buddhist retreat. And I thought my wondrous days might have been over. But they weren't, because one night after the talk, I felt bliss and rapture looking at my ankles, and pretty soon I was submerged in bliss and rapture, and it lasted for 8 hours. I mean, like 15 minutes would have been really nice. And I know it sounds strange that I'm complaining, but I liken it to a kind of spiritual Viagra. It's just it's a good thing, but something that's lasting too long is, I don't know if it's a good thing or not. So, and here's a little man with a star. And here's a multi-headed paper red guy. This is Dazzle. This is a girl, Spitbite, Breath, and then a big guy, Music, and a life-size guy, Walking Man. And then this is an installation I did in New Orleans, and it's called Word Queens. And I really wanted to still love to do work about women. And I didn't want to portray women as victims, and I'm not I am political, but I didn't want to do art right this minute that was political, but I did want to raise us up from being little princesses. So I called the show Word Queens. So I feel that each figure is a woman of power and strength and vitality. And here are the pieces individually that were in that show. And they're actually, I mean, they're bigger than life size because of the suspended crowns. Pardon? The material? This material is copper. When it's this color, it's copper. And when it's white, it's like a sheet metal that I've painted white, spray painted white. So like that one would be metal that's cut out and spray painted white. Okay, and then, okay, so this, you have this. So I guess I should say nothing and let you make up your own minds. But no, Arthur called me from New Orleans and he said, would you like to do an installation? And as I said, yes. And then, oh, what to do? And then I remembered that in 2004, I had seen an exhibit of Sister Gertrude Morgan's at the Museum of American Folk Art in New York. And I was knocked out by the power of her images combined with her text. So I found out more about her, that she had been a street preacher in New Orleans. She died in 1985 and was a vehement, vital woman of faith. And she had had a vision. So the beginning of her life, she dressed in ecclesiastical black and worked in an orphanage. And then she had a vision that she was to become the bride of Jesus. So after that, she dressed in white. And you can see it. There's a book that accompanies the exhibit, and you can see that was written by the incredible Bill Fagley. And it's also interesting, this wearing of white, because Emily Dickinson also wore white all of her adult life. So, and here, so this is about, with Sister Gertrude's writings, and with her in mind, she was very much a hell, 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 heaven, heaven, heaven kind of gal. It's like, okay, either all good or all bad, all heaven or all hell. So I did the drawings, based on that. And my heart shall not fear, though war should rise against me, is the last one. Now, there are just a few more slides. That's it. But this next slide is a new image. Okay, and you're going to laugh again, but it's not, like all the others, it's not that funny. But you know what? I decided that the time had come that I should put all of me in my slide talks. My life, my father, my 40 years of meditation, my Jewish husbands, I didn't really put them in yet, but it's coming up. So I know, but here's Ed. So I'm married to a documentary filmmaker who for the last 20 years has done documentary films as a video journalist. He's dressed like this. I don't have any idea why I would be smiling, except it's such an American cultural thing, because he was dressed up and getting his photo taken because next day he was leaving to be embedded in Iraq for 3 months to film the soldiers. So that's why we took this photo. So I thought I would just share that with you. So he's been in Afghanistan 5 times, and Pakistan, and Syria, Jordan, Thailand, Burma, Rwanda, the Sudan, Nigeria. So this is the last images I'm going to show you. My most recent show was, you can tell that it's right off of Sister Gertrude, and it's called Faith in the Devil. So I thought, why don't I put this challenge that is my challenge, which is to make sense out of a world that has unfathomable cruelty and dismemberment in it, and that coexists at the same time with investigations of spirituality and transcendence. So this is Big Gal Faith. I thought I'll make Big Gal Faith really big. And this is the first drawing of Evil. This is Evil Queen. And these are stories that are taken right from Ed's trip to the Sudan. So on the left was a story that a 15-year-old boy told him about how he was made by the LRA to take a maize pounding stick and to beat his 8-year-old sister's head in and kill her, and what that felt like. So that's on one side. And on the other side is also from the Sudan, is from a man in the same village. And in that story, he talks about how his brother was missing, so he went looking for him along the road, and first they found his ears, and then they found his lips, and then they found his tongue, and then his feet, and then his legs, and then his torso, and then his head. So these stories are coming into all of us in a way, but into me, and I thought, all right, I need to really put myself where my life is and start making my work about things that is in my life. So there is that. Here's Lucifer. So he's the little guy. I made him small and big, Galfaith, big. And this is in front of River of Blood of Blind Desire. And I took this language from my friend Hans Slay, Kafka, Dante, and scrambled it all up and came up with this. And this is horrible words, slash, gash, catastrophe, the writhing shrillness of maggots, things like that. And as this is there are only 3 more slides, I just want to show you, how does my work get done? This is how my work gets done. I put out emails for wonderful unpaid interns to come and work with me. And they come, and it's wonderful. And I do rigorous interviews because I like a cheerful, hard-working bunch, like leave your troubles at the door kind of studio, be here, be up. So here they are most recently, and here they are posed, and here's the real thing. So we work, printmaking taught me a lot about working like a big gang. And this is Eaters and Eaten in the Garden of Sorrow and Rapture, sort of the naming for the whole show. And this is Forgiveness, which this was the hardest of emotions and caused the most arguments over dinner table conversations. Refuge. And then again, big gal Faith. Here she is. And my final slide is of Larry, a big photo of Larry, and with the words, faith, like a guillotine as heavy as light, which wrapped around the gallery for the Faith and the Devil show. So it has indeed been a challenge to align faith and these troubling stories of cruelty and dismemberment. I think often that faith has as much fear in it as it does optimism and a kind of crazy grace. Faith is about the big world because by its very nature, it includes and incorporates evil. So this is what I'm interested in now, the big story and telling the big story. And all of us have this big story in us. It's all in you living. So do well. Thank you very much. And you can go or you can stay. And I'll as you can tell, I can probably answer almost anything. If you have any questions. Not any. Yes? Do I design what?
Your fonts.
No, the fonts are New York Times, Bible, and Gothic. And then I mix them. So that, to me, it reminds me of the Hindi that I didn't understand, of the beauty of that language with its center move. And I stay pretty much to those 3 fonts, and just switching out the upper and lower case, and sort of like, what's the song and what's the music. I guess, that kind of thing. Good question. Mm-hmm.
For Divide Light, did you consider other music genres, or did you just know from the start that you wanted it to be an opera?
Very good question. When I did Divide Light, tell me if I'm saying this correctly, did I consider other musical forms, or did I right away want to do an opera? I wanted right away to do an opera because I felt, even though I got enormous resistance, because they said, where's the story? Where's the spectacle? Where's the prince on the horse riding into the woods, shooting the golden bird that turns into the daughter of the prince, and then he goes in the dungeon and dies. So, so we didn't have that. But I felt that Emily Dickinson's words are so wide-ranging and so immense that our story was one, if you watch the whole thing, which is 82 minutes long, that's why I told you. But it's actually in the galleries. So it starts with vulnerability and gentleness. I am afraid to own a body. I'm afraid to own a soul. And it moves through various emotions like a ride. It moves through loneliness. The soul has bandaged moments. Through hope, exhilaration, and ending with ecstasy. Take all away from me, but leave me ecstasy. So I felt that it was definitely an opera, and I wanted everyone on stage. I wanted the singers on stage. I wanted the musicians on stage. So everybody was part of the opera. So that magnified the feeling of spectacle. And originally I was going to make costumes for everyone, but yeah. Yes.
How many separate poems did you use in Divide Light? And I recognize some of the fragments of individual poems.
I don't know how many different poems I use because my process is just I kind of read like I'm a boat going through water, and so I just gather phrases and write them down. So I don't know. Yeah, a good research project. Sorry. Yes.
In many of your poems, there's an aspect or reference to haute couture, and I just wonder where that fits in the description of the visions.
No, I think it all goes back, like the question was about my work referencing haute couture. And, I have a new friend who said, so which designer do you like best? Do you like Christian Lacroix? I said, I don't know. And although the Savage Beauty show that was at the Met was just incredible. Oh my God. But so I don't look at fashion or fashion week. I look, but it's more like when I'm about to make a new piece, it's like, what is her character? What is his character? What is he about? Is this good with a little evil? Is it, my baritone was in a white suit, and the mezzo had the word light written on her, and the soprano had alive, because you wouldn't know this, but she had just given birth to a baby. So I thought, why not put a really terrific word on her? So I put the word alive on her dress. So, and then I thought Kate, the violinist in the Del Sol, I thought, she just definitely has to walk around, like get up and walk, and be with the other two women. So there's a section in the opera where she gets up and walks around. So I thought, so she has to have something behind her, that will go on the ground, that will make her see. So it's more story interest. But there are some spectacular gowns and things that people wear. Yeah, this was made in India because I usually wear dresses. Yeah, and I like this little look. Anyone? Yes?
How difficult is it to be an artist, a creative person, as opposed to being an entrepreneur? You're running a business, obviously, but how does that sort of...
All right, did you hear the question? How difficult is it, or what is it like being an...
Marketing, for example, your art is very different from...
Right.
So,
all right. Okay. I don't reconcile it. I'm still of that generation. I don't reconcile the marketing of the work and me being an artist. I can't even, this museum staff knows this, I can't even do a walkthrough because I feel like such a fake walking through. And I mean, I can do a sit down, but I can't do a walkthrough. So if somebody wanted to buy my work, I mean, my art dealers joke that, oh, don't, because I'll say, oh, like $1 and you can have it. I would be terrible. So I have galleries that represent me, Arthur Roger Gallery in New Orleans and George Adams in New York, and I'm very, very lucky. So they can take care of that. I mean, as best as anyone can in this recession. So, thank you. So no, I can't do that. And actually, I've taught all my life. I mean, this is teaching too. Coming here, and so I've taught high school. I've taught I've taught 7-year-olds. I've taught museum. I've taught seniors, which I am now one of myself. And so I've taught my entire life, ever since I was 16. So I have always worked for a living, always worked for a living. So, and I would hate this so my work. Oh, here, buy this. It's really important. No, not true. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the comment was that she likes the different materials and was wondering if there's a specific meaning to the usage of horsehair. Well, real hair is creepy, I think, and dog hair doesn't work. Thread is nice. Wire is difficult, and horsehair is wonderful. So I actually have an enormous amount of horsehair from a place in Washington State that said no horse was killed, that they were grown, and they're all blonde. They're all blondes. So actually I've made, here in the exhibit now, there's a waterfall of wire, but I've also done waterfalls of blonde horsehair, which has to be tied, like left over right, and left, right over left, so to get the length to go down. It's crazy. So, and then I dyed some horsehair blue and did a blue horsehair smush. So it's not about the death of an animal, one. So it feels real. You kind of crave it after a while. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is where you start to think she really is a little crazy. Okay. You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, then. Thank you so very much.